Got it.
All right, we're recording. Okay, it's 6:03. I'd like to call this meeting into order. Please rise for the pledge, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stay silent for a moment as we think about those who have gone before us. Thank you. Okay, roll call please, Judy.
Okay. Trustee Lewis will be late a little bit. Trustee Pine?
Present.
Okay. Trustee Bushner?
Here and ready.
Mayor Allen?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Ryan?
Here.
Trustee Patton is absent tonight. Trustee O'Malley?
Here.
All right, few updates to go through. First off, the second annual Trunk or Treat was an incredible event. It was a Saturday night. Thank you to the town for opening up the rink for them because, man, was the weather awful. I got there about 45 minutes into the 2-hour event, and there was a line of 60 people waiting to go inside, and it was packed inside, and they said that that line had been consistent the whole time as soon as they opened up the doors. It was an incredible event. 30-some vehicles showed up. I think last year they measured it in the hundreds. This year they easily cleared to thousands.
Aylish sent me an email today. She saw 1,500.
Yeah, that's it, and it was an incredible event. And now all they're thinking now is do they do the rink and outside next year? It's just a great event. So hats off to Renee, Little Sprouts, and Missy, and Aylish and AC3 for putting that together. Tomorrow night is the Halloween parade here at 6 p.m. A couple just quick updates. FEMA is working on basically reassessing the levies and getting through. It's sort of a generic process that takes a few months of just going through levies that are in existence, seeing what condition they're in, that sort of thing. Mark, as town supervisor, and I were on a call. We're going to have a meeting next week here. Just to further discuss the levy and the floodplain. So it seems sort of like Mark, seems like kind of like an administrative, making sure everything is the way it's supposed to be and everything in their system is right and getting systems updated that they have.
This is like the next stage. FEMA initially went through and redid all of their floodplain things a couple years ago. Neil and I attended a meeting, and then this is the follow-up for some of the ones that they didn't get the levies part of the system.
Yeah. So it'll probably be about a 3 to 6 month process, a few meetings here and there, and then we'll have another one. Neil's going to be on that one because he knows the most about the levy here, so that's all that is. The Snow Street project is complete. The final, I'm trying to get my numbers here.
Can I interrupt you for one?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you want to announce the date of the meeting?
The date of which, no, because it's not, it's just a couple of us getting together type thing.
Okay, we don't need to.
As long as I have it in my calendar and Neil has it in his calendar, I think we're good. Oh no, that's at the end of next month, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, so we won't even have a report at the November meeting. It'll be between the December meeting. So that's at the end of November, that meeting. So the Snow Street project is complete. Our guys and Neil in particular did a lot of additional work to keep costs down. They did some changes with the design for the storm drain system to make certain things work. It came out well. They've done their patchwork up there for the season. In terms of the road condition, they're going to let that basically settle over the year, and next year that will be one of the prime spots for the milling and paving, so that things will be back to normal. The final cost was $275,757.40 from CFI, including the engineering costs that went into the project. That leaves us with approximately somewhere around $30,000. I can't remember the exact figure, $35,000, which will come back up later when we talk about part 2 of our goals up there, which is the pump station. And the final quick thing is that Pan Am has been doing some more work over by the wastewater treatment plant, as Verizon, installing something down the sewer plant road. It's not a big deal. It didn't.
Yeah, it caught up.
Ken caught up, so no issues with the greenway, anything like that.
Yeah, I part of the property line that we do own, they want to remove some of the hill, so He's giving the contact in for the contractor. I'm just gonna reach out and touch base with him on that.
Okay, great, thank you.
No problem.
I like being proactive on things instead of, hey, where'd our hill go?
Yeah, and then talk to you about land swap possibly with the
Yep.
other area.
Now, I don't know if this was Kevin or Brian or maybe Vanessa who brought this up, but there was a request from Jason Funkinus and Yohog to use the park for the Cold Weather Classic on Saturday the 10th of November from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Do either of you guys have any more information on that?
It was me.
It was me.
It was you, okay. Any more
Some
information?
kind of Scottish type teams.
Throwing stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Large, sharp things.
No,
Yeah.
they do large logs.
Yeah.
Really?
They
Oh,
meant Wood
no.
Park, not the athletic field? Or did he
They-
mean the park and he didn't realize?
I think they
Athletic
wanted to
fields.
use the wood park, but I think the athletic field would make more sense.
Well, they talked, I think they talked to Mark about the athletic field, there was a large insurance policy you need for that.
They have to provide proof of insurance, but that's who, all right, I knew there was somebody else that wanted to use the park.
Actually, I asked her, I told her, I said, maybe the athletic field would be better, and then she must have maybe went to the website and saw the insurance information, and she,
I sent them to the when they called me, I sent them to the website, and told them that, yeah, they have to fill out facility use request, and we, you know, with everybody that uses the facilities, we request our insurance.
I don't think it's a really big event, so I don't know.
Well,
I think he's just trying to bring people to Hoosick Falls, and this is one of the
Yep.
things he's involved with where he can introduce people to the community, but, I guess my only word would be throwing things in the park. Not
think
that
it's
I wouldn't mind
problematic.
seeing new streetlights, but.
I mean, will there be alcohol and all that?
That wasn't mentioned. They were talking about having food from Unihog, and a couple of tents set up where people that were planning to take part would just hang out for the afternoon.
I don't think Scott's drink.
Yeah. End of the season track and field event held for athletes near and far to wind down from the throwing season abroad.
Oh, so it's actually not throwing
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a party.
Participants and spectators alike will be encouraged to spend the weekend locally in Hoosick Falls while enjoying the food and entertainment offered by Unihog. So
It's coming up soon, right?
it is, and it
November
would be
10th.
it's before our next meeting.
2 weeks, I think.
Can we approve this, barring some sort of submittal of proof of insurance? Would that be how to do it?
Conditional,
Okay.
proof of insurance,
Okay.
an adequate amount, review that with your agent.
Okay. So I'm looking for a motion to approve this conditionally based on proof of insurance provided by them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Motion.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Second.
Do they need a rider on their homeowners?
Yeah,
or-
Yeah, it's like a one-day event, right?
One-day event, it will, naming the village as an additional insured.
Can you? Oh well, we'll vote on it. Can you send that back to Jason? See if he still wants that.
Sure, it's actually Carl's wife that's setting this up.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Great. Thank you. People to be heard before you open up to the floor. We have 2 people here. Greg, you are up first
Thank
with
you.
introductions. Thanks for being here.
Greg, I'm the president of the board at the Health Center, CNR, the Center for Nursing Rehabilitation. We have to get rid of the health center name. We are something different. We have a new director. That's the main thing. David Lovelace is our new administrator, and he started in September, took over completely October 1st. And quite honestly, this is our first step in starting marketing and present where we are with everything else. I'm gonna say a few words, I'm gonna let him say a few words. Hopefully we don't trip on each other because we haven't practiced, we haven't talked to each other or anything else.
I'll sit
But-
down.
Yes, okay. You guys know who I am. We did complete the grant we got from the state of New York for 2.9 million. We have got all new heating, we have all new lighting, we have all new air conditioning. It was an energy grant, and everything has been paid and reimbursed other than the last 700,000 pending punch list, usual things at the end of a project. The good news is, of all the things that were granted in this grant that we applied for, we were the first ones done, the only ones even close to done. So it was done succinctly.
Nice.
Secondly, to explain, first of all, David doesn't know this, but thank you again for the grant, the fact that you wrote off the loan that we have with you, because that pushes where we are with the hospital. We have not made any public announcements about the hospital, pretty much because we know that we have to fix up things we had from an audit and everything else. We've gone through a management change, now David is running the place, and we also realize that we're understaffed. So we are doing very well, everything's going well, but we are understaffed, so we're not bringing in as many people as we could, okay? The hospital, by the agreement we did with the state of New York, is that all been confirmed by everything else, they actually manage us. The board still owns the place, runs the place. As far as the state of New York is concerned, we are the entity. The hospital has set up an LLC, of which I'm part of, that oversees the whole thing. But the day-to-day management of the health center is in the hands of Southwest Vermont Medical Center. Therefore, the employees, the pay scale's been increased, the benefits are better, they have HR, they have everything any other employee should have had, and they're doing really well. What we now need to do is to recruit, fill up the CNAs, which is the main thing that we need, is certified nurse assistants, that's the backbone of the business we're in, so that we can fill the place and get it back to break even. So that's my part of it. David, if you please, if you'd introduce yourselves, I know everybody pretty much but one person, but if you would just, because we want to be part of the community. We are, a fairly large employer, we wanna be bigger than we are now in the village, but we also wanna be the arrival place for the community members as they come back from the hospital, they need treatment, or they're aging out and need a place to go and relax, quite frankly. I don't know if that's even the right term, I'm not a hospital guy, I'm not a nursing home guy, I'm the president of the board. So here I am trying to speak. I will talk to any group that you recommend, I will talk to anybody, and I'm sure David will do the same thing as far as marketing our facility. But we're on good ground, and we're going forward, and David, if you would.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, board. I'll move on to this one. Pleasure to be here and meet everyone. I did drop in a couple months ago unannounced and got to observe the board and the dynamics in the community. And it's a privilege to be here. I reside in Saratoga Springs. I've known the Center for Nursing and Rehabilitation since about 2007 when I first spoke with Paul Corbett. I was a fresh budding administrator at the time up in North Creek, similar size, 82 beds, and we were operating on a loss at that time. And I'm happy to say that it was a fully unionized facility, that we worked closely together, and within a year and a half, we became profitable. Things have changed in the last 10 years. It's more challenging to become profitable. I was attracted to this opportunity because of the affiliation with Southwestern Vermont Healthcare, and they're also part of the Dartmouth-Hitchcock organization, and they're looking to invest in this part of the world. If you look at demographics, 25% of the hospital's catchment comes from the Hoosick Falls area. They're investing significantly in this area between the Twin Rivers practice and the CNR, as we call it, the Centers for Nursing and Rehabilitation. Our challenges, as Greg spoke, was primarily staffing. We have an excellent product. We care for your loved ones in their weakest time. We don't have enough people to provide that service. And with the backing of the hospital, we recently released a program for the employees. If you come up with a licensed professional to add to our staff, someone that you want to work with, you being the judge of the people that you want to surround yourselves with so that we can provide our service, there's $1,500 available to the employee. And as a sign-on bonus, $1,500 for the new licensed professional, whether it be a CNA, LPN, or RN. We're hiring all. And this is an example of the vision. My manager's name is Angie Morano, and her vision of how do we invest into this community, this opportunity of service to this community, and how do we attract employees in this tight labor market. And money's one way, but everyone in HR knows that money's not just the only way to do it. They've increased wages based on parity, based on internal comparisons, and also they've increased wage differentials. For example, over the weekend it's going up as high as $3.25 an hour more to attract people. We'll be reaching out to the schools and various places to coordinate their graduation with our training programs so that people that aren't going to college have a place where they can feel the rewards of giving and caring for our elders and younger people that hope to return home. For me, it's an exciting opportunity. The tagline from Joyce Davis, neighbors caring for neighbors, I definitely feel that here. I felt that up in Adirondack, Tri-County in North Creek. I feel that here. In fact, the population here is about twice what we had up in North Creek. And so it's a little bit bigger, but the opportunity is tremendous. And to have the resources of the hospital bail us out where we weren't able to meet our vendors' needs and we'd have to switch vendors just because we couldn't pay the bills. They've removed all of those challenges. They want us to succeed. We've got a three-year turnaround plan. I've got a plan that's showing an operating loss of over $1 million this year, and the hospital is willing to invest that kind of money to bring this back to where we need it to be. I thank you for the opportunity to tell you a little about what we call CNR, and it's a pleasure to meet each of you.
Great,
Thank
thank you very much.
Questions at all?
You guys have any questions?
No?
I'm eager to hear how it is 6 months and a year from now.
No.
How things are going. Have you guys reached out to colleges in the tri-state area?
This is really our beginning of marketing. We really
Okay.
had to settle some things after, things that went on over the transition and everything else. And we are not full. We're not full because we don't have enough people to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
The people that are going in there have to know they're gonna be taken care of. And right now, we're at the level we can get to take care of them. We need to get enough people in to get the beds full, okay? We never intend to be profitable. We wanna break even, be here for Hoosick Falls. Right now, as David alluded to, we're surviving because of people that helped us, like yourself, the grant from the state, and the hospital funding us, okay? We need to get staffed to where we can get 82 beds full and go from there and then break even. And that is our goal. This is the beginning of our marketing to go out, but we're gonna hesitate as we market, because you could send me 10 people tomorrow and I can't take them, or he can't take them, I can't do anything, except for mow my grass, but he can't take them because we don't have enough people to care for them. So we're in the midst of a really serious recruiting campaign.
That's great. That's great.
I did meet with Ray Smith, the Director of Marketing, today at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
We talked, we'll be presenting a 6-month marketing plan. You'll see in the local papers advertising for positions, talking about the referral and sign-on bonuses that I just referenced. And you'll see more of a concerted, consistent marketing campaign with the help of the hospital, boosting the community awareness about the good things going on at CNR.
I feel like there's a bunch of colleges somewhat locally who have nursing programs. I feel like MCLA is one of them, but I'm not sure if that's right. I know.
College does.
Oh yeah.
Well, for example, we have a coupon program with SVC, wherein an employee toward achieving their BSN can receive a coupon for a course.
Perfect.
Hospital's covering the tuition.
That's great. That's
No,
great.
and we are totally at the same level as the hospital at this point. Our folks, they've been wonderful. I mean, they've worked for years at low wages. They're making the same thing the people at the hospital are. Everything David said is that they've equalized everything. They have services we never could offer them before. But it isn't even about nurses, it's about CNAs. CNAs are the people in a nursing home that take care of your elders every hour of the day. And without them, you can't have the elders. That's what we really need.
All right.
How many do you staff right now?
Our total FTEs is 74, and our goal we have to increase that by 20 by the end of our year, which is September 30th.
And the bulk of them are CNAs, correct?
Yes.
All right, I wanna
And to
speak.
Greg's point, to give you an idea of the investment from the hospital, just to bring up to parity, that's roughly $300,000 in increase in wages, where we are today, for a year.
So, I wanna be positive, not negative. We need people, so if you have someplace we need to go talk, tell me, we'll go talk, okay?
Alright.
And with that, because he's from Saratoga and I'm a town employee, we're scooting.
Alright, Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
No,
okay?
thank you.
for coming.
Thank you.
David,
great.
thank you very much.
Brian, you're welcome.
Glad you guys are
Great.
investing in here, so
Good to see you.
it's great.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you, appreciate it.
We should have asked for a bed for each of us for a week, just to,
Some
Take
weeks,
some time
there's
off.
some weeks.
right?
Mary Ann,
Not you.
Wickelbauer, right?
Yes.
Marion, came to us with an idea, and I think that Judy, and likely also Denise can speak historically to how things have gone, and probably Kevin as well, but please, take it away.
So, I'm from Hoosick Rising, and we would like to get involved in the holiday decorating and celebration, in the tree lighting in the gazebo area, in the park. We'd like to combine the decorating of the village trees, which are donated to the businesses along the streets. And we'd like to do it so that the businesses know, here's your tree, this is the day it needs to be decorated by. Because we're also lighting the tree, for instance, in Wood Park. We'd like to get the schools involved so that we can do some kind of caroling or we're sing-along kind of thing as a part of the celebration of lighting the tree. And then Unihog has donated their facility to have some kind of, cider and cookies for the community after the caroling takes place downtown. And it needs to be refined. Technically, we don't have a board until next Monday. So, we would go ahead and do it anyway. But just kind of tying up what the village already does with this is the day we're gonna do it all and have it finished by, and we're gonna make an event out of it, kind of thing.
Judy, Denise, how have things historically worked for this?
Well, last year,
They'll do it.
was there a tree lighting or?
I think it was later on, they turned the lights off on the tree at the church, and then they turned it back on again. I think it was almost 2 weeks after, it was December 14th or something
So
like
what's your
that.
thought, Kevin? I mean, I know that you were involved with.
I wasn't involved with the tree lighting, but I helped decorate the trees and things, but it's
Right.
been kinda haphazard over the past 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Sometimes it happens, and a lot of problems with the small trees, they don't get decorated and they don't look very, very nice, and there's no electricity on some of the poles, so that's been an issue.
How many of the poles have electricity? Just the one?
One pole.
The one pole?
So usually merchants
Easier to
run
count that way.
lead cords out their windows or whatever, and then wrap it around the pole and come down, but, Neil and I have been talking about different options for years, and it's very expensive to do some of the options we wanted to do, like $250, $300 per pole for decorations.
Thanks.
Then the money it would cost to put electricity on the poles is around $150 per pole.
What if we did every other? Because you can string a lot more LED lights than incandescent.
Yeah.
And we now
What's that
battery
looking
powered lighting, the trouble is that, Hoosick Rising isn't in a position to actually purchase lights for all of the, businesses. We might be in that position next year. The, town has been great, we went and spoke to the town, about a month ago and got some funding so that we can, operate as a functioning organization in the next year. So right now, we're trying to do this without any money, and I hate to go to the businesses who are already volunteering to decorate a tree and say, hey, listen, you also need to put battery-powered lights on these trees. So we're kind of, we don't know what to do. We can't give them the lights because we don't have the money, and it's a lot to expect from them financially.
Were you going to incorporate the gazebo in this, or was that a separate piece?
We want to incorporate the gazebo because we just figured it would be a great festival to have it all done in one night.
Because I know there was a couple that have done the gazebo the last few years.
Actually,
So,
I think we pay,
Yes, we do.
Maria and
Mhm.
somebody else to do that.
yes,
They don't
Mrs.
do
Mango.
They don't do the tree part, they
No.
just do the
Gazebo.
decorations on the outside.
Right.
Are you envisioning kind of a, I mean, it
So-
could be a way to help if community, like, you know, to use the phrase barn raising, community comes out together and everybody brings some lights or something to contribute as a community event where just you put it out to citizens, hey, can you pick up some solar powered lights and adopt a tree downtown and make it that event where instead of it being on the merchants, we say, you know, take ownership of your downtown, bring some decorations.
Yeah, I'm not sure we could, that would be a good way for us to approach this. I'm not sure we can accomplish that this year as far as getting the general public to adopt a tree. I know I could go around and I could get, you know, this company to adopt a tree and that company. I mean, I could double the amount of trees that are on the streets downtown. I don't think that would be a problem. I do think if we don't have enough decoration.
No, I mean
you don't
adopt,
wanna do
I
that.
mean, Marion, I meant adopt the decorating
Bill's
part,
not in this.
not the actual,
Limited buckets
Uh,
for the trees, so, you know, and that's usually a big cost for the village right there, is buying the buckets themselves.
And what are the buckets?
They're,
Like the half whiskey barrels.
Wooden
you know,
ones.
they're-
Yeah.
they're,
Okay,
That the trees
you know,
okay.
you know,
Marion, I meant
that's a
people
big
for
cost.
decorating the trees, not
Right.
more trees.
Right, and I think that the first thought that came to mind is how many people are cleaning out a closet or decided they aren't gonna put up
Right.
a tree anymore, or they're pre-lit, they bought a pre-lit tree and now they have all these strands of lights. So yeah, one of the things I wanted to do is put a call out to people and say, hey, listen, we need lights for downtown. If you have them, you know, bring them, kind of thing. But I really wanted Hoosick Rising to do the decorating and help with the decorating if any of the merchants need help.
Is this something like where you want to start like a baby step this year to sort of set it up for next year? Is that sort of what you're thinking?
I think it could, I mean, what I'm envisioning at some point, and it's a kind of a romantic idea, one of the very first things actually the first time, and it was in Hoosick Falls, I went to the Easter Peter Rabbit coming to the village.
Oh, the penny hunt,
thing.
penny hunt?
The penny hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my nephew, it was Patrick, I think he was 2 or something. And I said, I can't believe it, you know, this is like a snippet in time, this is like an isolated pocket of perfectness. You know, I couldn't believe how amazing it was. And that's kind of what I'd like to experience with the lighting. I'd like it to become a yearly event where the entire town comes together and sings carols and has hot chocolate and mulled cider and cookies.
Maybe reaching out to Haka to see if there would be church people, if they want to do like a standard 6 carols.
Yeah.
Then we get information on the congregation saying we're gonna gather in this evening at this night, light the tree, sing these same carols together, and then go over to the thing and maybe some of the school kids sing along or play instruments along. That would be a really neat event, and it's a family kid-centered event.
Yes, yeah, I think that would be great. And definitely the churches have to be notified, and I can definitely get the priests and other leaders involved, and definitely.
Maybe you can get Hoosick School to take part of their Yule
Mhm.
Log, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
for this, Mary?
No, that's the other thing is, things always come faster than you expect them to come.
Truth.
So if we wanted to do it I'm open to suggestions here. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't know what would be preferable. I don't think a weeknight would work.
Mm-mm.
And then are we talking the weekend after Thanksgiving so that things are lit on November 30th for the entire month of December? know when the trees are delivered? No.
We usually pick them up the weekend of Thanksgiving,
Okay.
so it'll be when Neil would be available to, I think normally, isn't it around the 8th? That's when it typically.
Full weekend in
Yeah.
December, yeah.
I mean, if that works.
It's usually the first weekend in December.
So that would be the 7th or 8th.
Yeah, the 7th is a Friday and the 8th
Yeah.
is Saturday.
And does anybody have an opinion on whether a Friday would be better than a Saturday or how that would work? I don't think a Sunday's good. People are recouping and trying to get ready for Monday.
I think kind of like a Saturday early evening would be better.
Okay.
That's just my thought. I think that what it sounds like is, I think this is a fantastic idea, and I would love to get this flushed out, and I think that we just need to get a bunch of different people together in an email chain to flesh this out.
Yep.
You know, from the village's perspective, we got to figure out the timing of when the trees will be up and when that would work. Maybe get a couple of the local businesses, you know, Jason and Mike. Ugel, get a couple, reach out to Haka and see if they would have a congregation or maybe even a choir who would be interested in doing that.
Yeah.
Reach out to school. I think this could be a really, really neat event, so.
I do like the idea of people donating lights or something, if you could have some type of a light drop off or something before that, it'd be
Yeah,
great,
like
you
the
know?
week before or something.
Yeah. If you get people to
Do
bring,
that.
you know, donate a couple strands of battery lights or whatever, you know, I mean, if they'd like, that'd be great.
And I can put that through Hoosick Rising, but, and I could probably have like Father Tom announce that at Mass or something. I don't know what other avenue to go through to actually advertise that. Oh, good. All right,
So just a press release for like for the paper?
Anyway,
Yeah.
this is gonna be in the paper this week, so I'll talk to her more about it.
Oh, that'd be
We
great.
can put this up on our Facebook page to get the information out there.
Yeah, I'll scout out a good drop-off point, like maybe ask Key Bank if we can put a box in the lobby or something.
All right. Who wants to be in this email chain of getting this moving? Any of you guys?
This sounds fun.
All right.
Okay.
Do you want Neil or Marie? Do you guys want to be in this chain as well?
Sure.
Okay.
You guys?
That's great. This is great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Marianne.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Anybody else wish to speak? Share? All right. Seeing none, we will move on. Old business. Last meeting. Let me get my Woodsbrook binder and stuff out here. We had the Woodsbrook agreement. We'd reviewed it. We had some questions. I asked for us to table it. Had some good conversations with Don and Ryan here from D&L. We have since received, and I forwarded on to you guys, and I think we may have one or two, I can't remember if we had any, but I can bring up an email. We have the additional agreement. I also got this. What I had done was I had found, I don't even remember how I found that document, but it was basically a basic spreadsheet that listed out, here's for you, Andy. I don't know if you have one of those. They had originally listed out the costs way back when, and this was the original one that listed out the costs back before we asked things to be refined, and this is sort of what it would look like. Do you guys want to speak a little bit on this?
I'd be happy to walk you through what we put together.
Oh, and I'm sorry, it's just as a reminder to everybody, this is the $900,000 CDBG grant that was awarded between the town and the village, and I know that I have been speaking with Mark quite a bit on this. Mark and the town have gotten this agreement, and I know that they've reviewed it, and we have some more dialogue to have happen. So, Mark, you also, as town supervisor, have the floor to ask questions, comment, please, at any time.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor Allen. Ryan Whites from DNL. My colleague Don Fletcher is here with me tonight. As Mayor Allen handed out to you all, I believe, is a revised CDBG breakdown of budget. So the original budget that was put together that's shorter
This is the original. If you want to take a
was
peek
put
real
together
fast.
based on the flood analysis that was done between 2016 and 2017, so before the July 2017 flooding occurred. And at that time, the recommendations of that study were to do some upstream attenuation work at Johnson Hill Road, and then in the village to look at diverting the Woodsbrook away from downtown. as a cost savings measure, still costly, don't get me wrong, but, and also with the unknown factor of whether individual property owners along the Woodsbrook through the village would be willing to sell or not. Now, after the flooding occurred, a lot of things changed. So the 2017 grant application that was put in on behalf of the village and the town for the $900,000 grant identified a number of initial actions to take to allow that diversion to take place. Some of those being utility relocations, easement acquisitions, and a replacement of a railroad culvert. Now, with those not really on the table anymore, what we had to do is come back and take a look at what we wanted to do with this $900,000 to make sure the village and the town gets the best bang for the buck, get some real improvements done to the corridor, and then move on to successive phases. As we all know, the buyout program is going on in the village, and there's going to be successive phases to this. So what we did, and this is reflected on the budget breakdown that was passed out this evening, and I have some extra copies if anybody didn't get a copy, is break it down with the soft costs, which are reflected in our revised agreement. There's a schedule of fees, and this is duplicated herein to show you exactly what we would be doing in each task, and that aligns with our scope of services, and then also the construction costs. So overall, the soft costs remain the same, the construction costs remain the same. But you'll see here that under construction, we still have the general site work, Johnson Hill culvert modifications, that is the upstream work in the town, some permitting work, and then additional improvements to be determined. So that's where we really, in talking with HCR, which is the state agency responsible for administering the CDBG grant, what their recommendation is in our very broad approach to grant administration for the grant, to take a look at the entire corridor in environmental reviews. So that's one thing that we would be doing under this project. And then taking an upstream to downstream approach. So we would start at Johnson Hill Road and then work down towards the village and looking at where we can make improvements to help with flood mitigation. So in the, if you'll see here, task 4, item 4.1, an analysis and recommendations. So what we would be doing there, and we discuss it a little more in the scope of services, is really taking a look at that July 2017 study that happened before the flooding and the buyout program came to be. Taking a look at that, updating it, doing some more field reconnaissance, and then coming back to you with recommendations on how to use the additional $497,000, give or take, let's call it $500,000, in construction funds for additional work to occur. So while it's, at this point, it's a little vague, because we don't really know what that $500,000 in construction funds is going to be used for. HCR has basically agreed with the concept that as long as it's being used on the Woodsbrook for flood mitigation, that is going to be generally acceptable. We need to make sure that's included in the environmental review from the get-go, which is going to be a bit of a challenge in just keeping things broad in perspective. And then we would actually go through with the engineering and design for that, bidding it out, and then having it constructed through the project as well. So that kind of hopefully gives you an overview. The couple things that I would add that Mayor Allen and I spoke about on the phone, the overall funding is within the constraints of CDBG requirements. So that's one item that I wanted to bring to your attention. And the other, there was a question, since this is a joint, it was a joint application between the village and the town, what the exact requirements from the state would be in terms of enforcement of that for the agreement and grant admin and things along those lines. I was able to get a hold of an individual at HCR who administers this, and Basically, the direction we received from HCR was that, in this case, the grant agreement, the contract, identifies the responsible party as the village. So, from HCR's perspective, the contract is with the village, but of course, the town benefits, and the town is integrally involved in this. So, depending on how the village and the town want to proceed in terms of executing an MOU or something along those lines, that's at the town and village's discretion. So, but I'd be happy to take any questions and walk you through anything, or.
Can you start by just addressing that, basically what will happen up on Johnson Hill and how that'll have an effect?
And where on where are you talking about starting on Johnson Hill? So that's, I'm trying to
So
grasp
where the
Wherever
Woodsbrook
it comes-
passes under Johnson Hill, what the
Ours-
That's at the end of the county road. Yeah, it's at the end of the,
By
up,
Powers.
yes.
Ball Street Extension.
Yes,
Really? Okay,
yes,
okay.
yes, yes.
That's what I want.
Yeah, up by end of Ball Street.
So there's an existing arch culvert that passes under Johnson Hill Road, carries the Woodsbrook under, and what the hydraulic analysis that was prepared as part of the study found is that if we basically throttle back the flow passing through that culvert, that it will actually slow peak flows from getting to the village. So once it gets to the village and goes under Main Street, there's a bottleneck, and it causes some backups and flooding. So if we can slow those waters down before it gets to the lower reaches of the corridor, that's a benefit. So what we would be doing there is basically installing making some modifications to the inlet of that culvert to basically slow down the flow from getting to the village. And upstream of that is a low, kind of forested wetland area. So it would create a little more ponding during a storm event, a large storm event. I think the opening would still be a couple, we're not gonna be throttling it back to something very small, so it would still pass most flows, but when those big storm events occur, that's when it would create a little more ponding. We would also, in that area, the area of the road is a bit of a sag curve, so we'd be raising the road about a foot or so, to help with, as that water backs up, we don't want it overtopping the road in a situation of extreme rainfall. So that's basically what we would be doing at Johnson Hill Road.
Are there any properties nearby there that, like, if we did this and it ponded up too much, it could cause an issue with our people?
In terms of residential or property damages, immediately upstream is it's a agricultural field and basically forested wetlands. So there's no properties or structures immediately upstream of that would be affected by the
It
work.
borders, so you're talking about the stream where it borders the Hoosick Falls Country Club in that area, down
Yes.
is upstream.
Is that
Yes.
before it gets to the wall with the cutout?
Yeah, I guess before it gets to Bay, it runs all along until it gets to Bay Shore's property where it flooded.
Alright.
Where there was a pond long ago.
Neil?
Used
It's
to.
actually, it's not Powers, it's actually starting by Bruce Church's down in that.
Oh, so it's-
That's where it actually starts.
Oh, that's why,
That's the actual
Yeah.
swale he's talking.
Yeah.
Oh,
goes
okay.
And
that
it
far.
filters out into Pike
Because
Powers'
there's a
property.
bridge, right, there's a small bridge by Powers, that's what I was thinking, so you're not talking about that.
Oh, I'm talking about where he is, but now I'm realizing where you mean Powers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Okay.
And then when that's complete, or additionally, studying from there down into the village to see what
Yes.
else can be done to slow it down.
Yeah, and really where the flood study left off was coming down, there's another dam, an existing dam along the Woodsbrook, and really shortly after that, creating a diversion that would bring the stream to the southwest. But with the flooding that occurred and the monies being allocated from the state where they were, there's an opportunity to make improvements to the infrastructure that passes through the village to adequately convey the flow of the Woodsbrook. So that's gonna be a successive phase, and there's funding in place to study that. That's not currently up for, well, it's not part of, our scope of services at this point, and that will be a future action of the village. But that's kind of what's coming down the line, and that's why we wanna focus more on the upstream, so let's say upstream of Main Street, and look at what improvements we can make there that are gonna make a difference for flooding downstream. And then once that planning funds and the design funds are released to look at the village portion, then we would take a look at making those improvements and then going back for, additional funding. This whole project, the diversion project, the estimate for that was,
8 to 9, I think.
yeah, it was multiple million, right around 8 to 10 million, I believe. So it's a multi-million-dollar, multi-phase, multi-year project, and this is that first step. So we're still, we've taken off a bite in trying to figure out what the improvements need to be to get the best solution. But this is a very, long, complex project that's going to, take some more analysis, and this is gonna get us on that path.
And multiple pieces, because we have the other Woodsbrook project throughout the village that we're working on as well.
Yes.
Alright, any more technical questions on this? Andy or Mark, do you guys wanna voice off on the co-signing with the town, and have you talked to your attorney or board at all?
I forwarded an email back to him today on MOU. I think he suggested Andy wanted to do an MOU. That would probably.
Andy, can you explain that generally
That'd be the way to
speaking
go.
and thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
Use all the words.
So, that's right. A couple of thoughts. Kind of following up on what Ryan said, this is like the first step. And the Woodsbrook buyout program that the village is now starting on, while separate, is related to this, because the acquisition of those properties will then allow B&L or your engineer to analyze what improvements can be done through the existing channel rather than diverting the stream. And so when Ryan says that's gonna be folded into this, when we discussed where we are with the state, they understood, because of the buyout program, this original kind of flood analysis changes. And so this grant has to be specific on, I'll call them the upstream improvements, but still include some language about not the stream diversion, but what could be done generically along the existing corridor in connection with the property buyouts. We don't know where all the properties are gonna be yet. We don't know exactly what those improvements would be. To complicate it is the environmental review of this grant has to include some language about that later project or projects. So part of what B&L's task will be, and you'll see a line item here, Task 2, Environmental Review Services, is be able to put as much detail in on the Johnson Hill Road improvements and still provide some analysis, generic, but some analysis on the improvement along the stream corridor, knowing that the detail of that's gonna follow the property buyout program. So that's kinda how all of this should hopefully work together, right? That's at least the theory. The memorandum of understanding or memorandum of agreement, whatever form it's gonna take, is, I think, important because, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, the upstream improvements lie outside the village but within the town. And so as this was initially a joint grant application, I think it's properly viewed as a joint project. And there should be some agreement as in between the village and town on how that's gonna work. Some issues that I see are all of these within existing public rights of way? Are there any properties that easements may be needed, drainage easements? Who's gonna, in what name are those easements gonna be held? Who's gonna be responsible for those improvements in terms of future maintenance? These are some things that I think should be fleshed out between town and village, since it is. I will tell you, the village has the legal right to perform improvements for drainage purposes, even though it's outside the village limits. You have the legal right to do that under the village law, but you have to coordinate with the other jurisdiction, with the town. So certainly we can outline kind of a memorandum of agreement between town and village that can get fleshed out between the two. I do think it's important to have that.
under the proposed B&L agreement, there is a limit of liability. That's not unusual in engineering agreements. In terms of any consequential incidental damages arising out of this work, it limits the economic liability of B&L to the amount of the contract. So in my mind, that's another reason to have an agreement as in between town and village to make sure, how are those issues, potential liability issues, if something does happen with these improvements and there are property damage or worse, some flooding and someone's injured as a result of that, and can tie it back causally to these improvements that are gonna be done. Those are some of the things that I think should be in an agreement as in between town and village. This is not unusual to have this in an engineering services agreement, so that's not unusual. But in this situation, those issues should be fleshed out.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can certainly take the first pass at that.
So the wall on back of Hall Street that looks like it's ready to fall down, is that an imminent threat to cave in there? Would that be part of this project?
So the portion, so Hall Street between Main and Church, yes, so that is part of the buyout area. So that's currently being looked at, and Andy can speak a little more to the status of that. But after the buyouts are completed, however many properties it may be, there is a pot of funds from DEC, I believe, but it's being administered through the same state agency as the CDBG funds, to basically study the portion, the buyout area, which is basically Church to Main, and then the little, I'm blanking on the
Spring
side
Street. Spring Street.
But I don't think the house in question, the property, is in the buyout program. It's on the other side of the brook.
Whether it would be eligible or not, I know there is a map of the buyout parcels, or the parcels that are being considered at this time. I'm not intimately involved with that.
You're talking about the wall right as it comes after.
I mean, I think it's along the.
Along Main Street.
That's not as much of an issue anymore now because of the work you guys did, right?
It's always gonna be an issue.
Until we get it taken
I
care
mean, I
of.
would ultimately say it's along the Woodsbrook corridor, it's eligible for the cost, because that's the generic language in the CDBG grant application. Now, the question is, as we move into it in the buyout program and the engineering analysis, whether that's an initial step that we wanna get done or not, that's what needs to be determined. But it could be.
But if that wall caved down, I think the only thing holding it up currently is a bunch of trees, and if that fell in, that would certainly might cause flooding.
Yeah.
More sooner than anything else would. So, just wanna bring that up.
It's multi-phase, it's a lot of money, as everyone knows,
Yeah.
so it's a matter of prioritizing the first bite of money, you know what I mean? Cause you got the study money, and then you got the 900,000, now you have the buyout, that's the third pot of money, and there's probably gonna be 3 or 4 more pots of money before we get to the end.
Yeah, something like that.
But then again, buyout gets done, that wall might not be an issue, cause it can be.
Maybe it'll be bypassed. For
Yeah, it
all
could
we
be
know.
it could be moved.
And that's going to
yeah.
be dependent upon what properties we end up owning in the buyout program.
Right.
I think it was $1 million.
So that can go multiple ways, basically. But that
Um,
wall is a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And to that point, that's kind of why we wanna take
That's
that
it.
generic approach to looking at the entire corridor. And those areas within the buyout area of looking, do you improve what's there, replace what's there, or with, a need for upsizing if the analysis shows, or basically daylight what's there, and that's gonna be dependent upon how that program resolves. So we wanna include it from an environmental review sense so that we could look to do those improvements if that's what is prioritized. But we also don't wanna jump too far ahead and say we want to just say replace this wall, where in the long run it makes more sense to shift it and daylight it or something like that. And I'm talking very broadly, but we don't wanna get too ahead of ourselves, because there are additional funds later on to look at that in more detail.
Yeah.
Now, should the village and town get with the county as far as, this agreement, considering that brook goes 1, 2, 3 times underneath that county road coming through.
Which county road are you talking about?
Wall Street Extension.
And Johns Mill Road, you know.
County Route 1.
Yeah, that one.
Cause
That one.
One plus.
One.
It's county roads, I would assume during the analysis. and
95 is the
during
Hill Road.
Figuring it all out, the county would get involved at some level.
There's going to have to be, and I believe we've identified it in our scope,
101.
County highway work permit. So we
So
would,
you can-
during design
Yep.
and then ultimately construction, coordinate with the county to get the work approved and then proceed with whatever construction permits they would require. So they would be involved in the design process.
Alright. Thank you, Neil. In terms of disagreement, and Andy, this is a legal question. Can we, do we have a resolution, or would this just be the motion? I forget which one this is. To accept this, we would just need a motion to authorize the mayor to sign this.
Correct.
But do we need to wait for the things worked out between the village and town?
I don't think so. I think they need to get going
Right.
on this.
Yeah, that's my
and
thought.
that's gonna be done as well. I think we can note for the record that the village will move forward and prepare and review a proposed memorandum of agreement with the town. It may include the county. We'll take a further look at that.
Okay.
But I do think that that's an important piece of it.
Well, my only concern really was that the fact that we had done a joint application, and then it, it kinda shifted, it just became the village, and it was almost like we were no longer involved yet, we were involved
Yeah.
in the application, so,
There was a bunch of communication that went on between us because it was the lead agency and the engineering firm, and then
right, and
I said, "Oh, Mark, have you seen the agreement?" He's like, "What agreement are you talking about?"
At one point, we saw that the village was the lead agency, which I don't think anybody had a problem with, other than the fact that, I work with Denise, so I know how busy she is already. So it was gonna be another thing on her plate, but, that part of it wasn't an issue, but just, I think, the fact that we were involved with the application, we just felt like, we should be involved in the, somewhat in the process.
Well, I think so too.
Absolutely.
Particularly
Yep.
since it's located in town,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it was in the short term because our agreement is with the village, because the village's agreement is the lead is is with CDBG.
Okay. Yep.
And it was obviously, it wasn't a joint RFQ that had come out to solicit our services, it was by the village.
That's
So
true.
Yeah.
It was just kinda getting through those steps, but you're
Yep.
right, the intent was always the town was gonna be involved with the design aspects.
So town's good with us moving forward on this, right?
I don't think, I don't think it'd be a problem, I can't
Okay.
speak for the whole board, but I don't think it'd be a problem.
Right, and I think the agreement, the intermunicipal agreement would acknowledge that it's a joint effort, a joint project, it's located in the town. The village acts as the lead for communications, but that it will be a joint effort. That should get fleshed out in an agreement, just so everyone
Okay.
knows what's
Yeah,
going
we
on.
certainly don't, we don't hold it up, that's for sure.
Right.
All right. In that case, I'm willing to entertain a motion authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement between the Village of Hoosick Falls and B&L for professional services related to the CDBG grants.
Motion.
Second.
That's Brian and Bobby. Any further discussion?
Does that have to be a roll call?
I don't think so. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming out, explaining everything. Appreciate
Brian,
it.
you live like way out, don't you?
Now,
I do.
So you-
Well, not too far out.
Exactly.
Schenectady.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
So, I don't know how far way out.
I thought you were Johnstown for some reason.
I grew up in that area.
Okay, I remember that was in there somewhere. That's why.
Okay.
Never mind. We're way out there. I was gonna feel bad for you having to go back to Johnstown, but never mind.
all right.
I don't feel bad.
Moving on
Good night, guys.
to new business.
Done.
The original reason we had this meeting called was to review the bids. Possible award of contract for the demolition of 3 unsafe structures within the village. We have already reviewed the bids as there were none that came back.
Awesome.
This was one of the things that in transitions in the office we did, and we're going to go back and do more. So we're going to get this out in more papers and revisit it. We wouldn't be able to have it in 2 weeks, would we?
I would think that's too soon.
That's too soon, right?
Good night, guys.
Good night,
Hey
guys.
guys, so we're gonna basically put this back out again, and we're looking at either waiting till the December meeting, We're doing a quick, another special meeting. Oh, this makes us, I know, it's awful.
Where does the regular December meeting fall? What's the date?
Second
December.
Tuesday? Oh, December, so.
December 11th.
And the November meeting is the 13th,
Right.
which is 2 weeks from tomorrow. You think it's possible to get it out? Could we get it out in the papers tomorrow?
We wanna make sure we leave enough time, right? We do that
I don't know how much
anyways,
time
so if we rush
they
it-
normally need to be out for.
I mean, that way they'd only be in 1 week's paper, that doesn't really give you much time before the next board meeting.
No, that's not enough time.
I wouldn't think.
Right.
If you wanna get it out there, we only had one person come in.
Pick
Yeah.
up the packet.
Pick anything
Yeah.
up.
Alright. So do we need a motion to rebid?
You do.
Okay, look for motion to rebid.
Motion.
Second.
Craig, Vanessa, thank you. Any further discussion?
Do we have any, will this still be for 3, or do we have progress on the one structure that
Well,
the
there's been
owners
progress
were?
on the one structure. I don't think I don't have any information it's down yet.
It's
No,
not
it's
down
still
yet, they're still trying to schedule it, but
Yeah,
they've worked
okay.
out the final details with, they've not worked out.
I have not received anything as far as an application goes.
Okay,
The way the
So it's
spec
for
is
three.
set up, it's bid as a one project, but also individually, each structure, so.
Okay, so they, down the road, that's not
That could-
impacting the
That could
bidding?
drop out and you just award it for 2 of the structures.
Okay.
Yep.
and I think the last I heard is that the firm is trying to schedule it with the rest of their business. And the last steps would be the what, permit through you?
The demo permit,
Okay.
I've not heard.
And I think they have the water and the electric figured out, and they know what they have to do for sewer, because we've discussed that with them. But that's progressing. All right, discussion regarding the Rensselaer Street pump station. This was, and as I put out the letter for the Stone Street folks, this was sort of our goal number 2 up. Jim, on my desk in the back left corner is that yellow paper that you wrote out. Could you grab that for me? I meant to bring it out here. There's a couple wrinkles into what our plan was. Our plan was to discuss this and hopefully move on it. As I mentioned earlier, the project came in. We ended up having about $35,000 left. I don't have the exact number, but I think it's in the draft. Do you have that exact number?
Final construction cost was $275, $757.
Yep.
317, $750 was available for construction, so
Thank you. Okay.
25, 35, about 42,000.
Is that including Neil's money for the blacktop?
No, we had to take out about 7 for that, which is why the number ended up being 35. I think it's like 34 and really high change, but for basic purposes, it's 35K.
Is that what we had, what you're gonna go over, I'm sorry?
Yep, that's
Just wanna make sure you have.
Yep, that's what we had. So, the idea has always been we've talked about this as a board. This is a priority for us. That area could be problematic, especially if there was in case of a fire. I know, and I've heard locally from a few folks, and Craig, you live up there. You may be able to say the water pressure has been improved up there.
Yeah,
Since?
I'm not one of the people who
Okay.
first complains, let's put it that way. I'm lower down in elevation than a lot
Okay.
of other people, so I don't see the drop off as
So how
quick.
that works is, when we put the new line in, of course, everybody at the lower part are gonna be higher.
Mhm.
When you go to Craig, Timmy Smith.
Even Mark up there.
Me.
No, Mark's below.
She's on the
No.
side, she's gonna be a part of this, she's gonna be
Okay.
different too.
Okay.
But as you got higher, it's gonna drop. We already know that.
Mhm.
They're the last ones to get water when this goes down.
Hmm.
And when they have water, we know our system's coming off. We dealt with these guys 24/7 at night,
Remember that.
so.
Okay. So, but the basic situation is this pump station is extremely old and antiquated, and as we were going through some of the budget changes that the water guys could take on, one of the things that they had budgeted was, and with Denise, yep, sorry, was about $12,500 for pumps, and I said, well, what are those for? And that's like,
The alternative.
if something craps out and they need to buy pumps, and I was like, well, how often does that happen? They're like, we budget this all the
As soon
time.
as you take away the money.
So, it's basically like, I mean, that's just like an annual maintenance cost, which is like, holy cow. So they looked through, and our original plan was to possibly look into a ban to go in a little debt for this temporarily. They found delaying some projects and modifying some projects for future years. $8,000 of a fencing project that we'd budgeted that we can do at a later time. A software upgrade that we'd budgeted that we can do at a later time. Hydrants expenses that we had in there. The $12,500 we set aside for pumps in case the station craps out, which if it's replaced, it shouldn't crap out. There was I can't remember exactly what the other stuff. There was about another $25,000 of other stuff that they were comfortable with for the remainder of this fiscal year, going without for the purposes of getting this. That came out to about $62,500. When you add in the remaining $35,000 from the grants, that came out to $97,500. Approximately. The cost of this from the bids, because this was an ad alternate in the bid packages, was $95,000, and that may get tweaked a bit, but we're going to stick with $95,000 right now. Which means, as we look at it, based on the money that's left from the grant and based on what the water guys and Denise figure they can cut out, we won't need to actually go into debt or do a ban for it, which is fantastic. Now, the curveball that got thrown in today was, of course, our good friends at DASNY.
I saw it.
They needed to see the total amount spent, and they only had a small amount so far. And then the other thing that gave me pause was when the email said that DASNY needs to research if the remaining funds from the water main replacement can be used to the village, which was like what do you mean? This has been the goal from day one. This was the plan. That's why it's an ad alternate. Denise spent some extra time today responding and saying, this is confusing because we've sent this and we've sent this, so why don't you have that? So there's more that has to be worked out. I had hoped that we could move forward with this tonight and put the order in. Andy, what are your legal thoughts?
I think it's prudent to get the DASNY issues worked out. I think the village placing an order, and by the way, it would be through, let me take a step back. In general, as you know, if you're over a certain dollar amount, any municipality has to publicly bid for the purchase of equipment. This particular equipment exceeds that dollar amount threshold. So if the village were to move forward and just buy equipment, the village would need to bid that separately. What had previously been bid over the summer was to have the contractor soup to nuts. The equipment, installation, startup, testing, all that was within the bid spec, and that's what was bid as the ad alternate by CFI, who submitted the low bid on that ad alternate. I think to move forward, we need to comply with that bid spec in order to be in compliance with competitive bidding requirements.
I have a question about that. I literally just thought of now, and Rich, you've been familiar with the project. You were the one overseeing it as the construction phase. The village isn't the one placing the order.
I understand
It's
but
them placing the order.
Well, yes, but then they're going to be looking to the village to pay them, and in order to make sure all of this works economically, I think it's prudent to tie off the DASNY
And make sure they're
numbers.
cool with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Before any water department funds, what you don't want to get into a position is we have water department funds deferring certain things to buy equipment to CFI and not have the balance of the money to actually complete the job.
Yeah.
We want to make sure DASNY is.
Well, the village, or MRP,
CFI.
or CFI, they could advertise for bid for the parts.
But it's already been bidded, it's already been accepted.
And it's
Well,
a timing issue.
Well, he's
Certainly.
saying we have to go back out for bid for it.
No, if we didn't use CFI, we will.
If you didn't use CFI and
Dave?
This, I talked to CFI this morning, this after, and right before I came. They have a $95,000 bid in for that job. If the village bought it on their own nickel, they're still going to charge you $25,000 to do the job. The way they're bidding it is soup to nuts. All the bolts, all the dresser couplings, all the flanges, elbows, everything that's needed, they're gonna cover under the 95. or the village can spend 95 and then have to go out and buy all the extra little, attachment parts.
Right.
So it's much, in my lowly opinion, it's better to let them bear the responsibility, the liability, everything. It's the same money.
And then you're under warranty for
Yeah.
a certain amount of
I
time.
agree
If
with
something
that.
goes wrong, they come back and fix it.
Well, basically, right now, we just need DASNY to get straightened out and approved
Two
before we can
things.
do anything.
Confirm with,
Lucky you,
with
Denise.
Denise, right, that all,
I will tell you, they do
Have we
not-
told you lately we love you?
They do not move quickly, they are
No.
like, they are snails.
Yeah.
So hopefully, we have not had much luck in other areas of different projects, but I can get the rest of the paperwork that they do not have from me yet, aside from what I sent them that they do have.
Mm-hmm.
I can get the bills together tomorrow, confirming with everyone that I have them all.
Do you have the final pay app? You got a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
I can sign that tonight.
Okay, it's in there anyway, I would
Okay.
just go ahead and submit it anyway, but
Okay, and then we're basically tabling this and hoping that we can get this done in 2 weeks with
Find out
Dazzler,
our
which is
next
like,
budget meeting.
that's
Be
nice.
cool, but
Okay.
I
Plan
totally
for
agree
November
with,
meeting.
agree with Dave.
Okay.
Leave it the way it is. We talked about this, me, you.
Yep.
And Andy, that way if something does go wrong, we make a phone call, they come and fix it.
Yeah.
so
Can we have a contingent on the motion to approve it once DASNY gives us, oh yeah, we found it, it's on someone else's desk?
No, we're tabling it, I believe, aren't we?
I don't know, can we?
Isn't that an option though, is to make it contingent, so that you're not held up again, and once Denise has cleared things up with Daphne, you're able to move forward?
And that way we wouldn't have
You
to meet
already-
again,
You're already
right?
taking the.
Would we,
Yeah.
Andy, or no?
well, you're gonna be meeting on the 13th.
Right,
Okay.
but if we don't have it by the 13th, would that,
If DASNY is not in line by the 13th, we'll,
Can we do a resolution that includes a contingent?
I'll redraft the resolution. I just wanna make sure the paper on that is correct, so the village is not exposed on it.
yeah, as far as myself getting them what they need, I rescan them what they should already have, and if they don't, I will put a hard copy of the same thing in the mail again, along with the last pay app. That I'll just make my priority to get done tomorrow if it's a time sensitive thing, which
It
I
was a
guess
shock to
is.
us too.
Yeah.
Kinda like, how can you screw this up?
And the
Well-
second piece is we do need to confirm with DASNY that their staff considers this booster station replacement part
Part of
of
it.
this project.
That's part two of what Rich was doing at 5 o'clock tonight.
Okay.
That's surprising, right?
Yeah, no, it's part of it, it's an ad alternate of the project.
That's, it
Yeah.
would not have been in the bid specs if it were otherwise, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We think we got a new.
So then we're looking. So we need a motion to table this, and we need some time anyway to get the last few things in. And okay.
It should be on your
All right.
agenda for the 13th.
Looking for a motion to table this.
Motion.
Brian, second. Craig. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Great. Motion. Moving on. Don't need the resolution. Discussion and possible motion on the Center for Securities quotes, which I think we have a bunch of. Does everybody have
Yeah.
one? I do too. It's in my pile. 1 second.
You did?
Here it is. I got it. Got it. Okay. This is basically some alterations to the system here, moving a camera that exists here downstairs for the police. When I think the wiring is already there, and then the second part of it is. Oh, that's the breathalyzer room. Adding an audio microphone to the area. This will be tied into existing power supply with an off switch installed on power supply to disable and enable audio only at head end location. Audio is not designed for specific segments, as may be needed by district attorney as discussed in depth with Bob Ash, minus the E, haha.
Yeah.
Audio may not be broken up in different time periods.
I'm not sure this is the best.
Documentation?
Yeah, this could probably be configured differently than this. I don't think that this quote is something, I think it can be done better,
Differently.
differently,
The
yeah.
DA thing's interesting.
Does that mean like they charge you for the on and off? And that's how they're saying they're breaking it down?
Well, it sounds like they're going to connect the audio of this into the existing video system.
Well, I think the DA,
But
there's
that
certain
makes
things.
exporting audio really tricky.
Yes, and the DA, there's a lot of extra loops here. It looks like the DA would need audio at certain portions of audio, but not others. So I think they're taking something that should be. This looks like it's complicating something to make it work with our existing system.
I don't know if that's the best way to do it, especially if there's something that DAs are going to need. It almost sounds like there's. I haven't talked. Who is this senator? Scott. Scott Hogan. I have not talked to him about this. Let me.
Can we table this?
Have a further conversation. I know Bob's not here
Yeah.
tonight. Table it for 2 weeks. Let me follow up with Bob and with Scott and see what's going on here. It's a little bit weird that he's saying that this can't be done a certain way and the DA may want that. All right.
Yeah, especially coming to the district attorney, we don't want to have any issues.
Yeah.
With evidence.
I prefer no issues with that.
So I gotta make a motion to table this until the November 13th meeting.
Okay. Second, Craig. Any further discussion on that? Is that all right with everybody?
Yep.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Thank
Can I,
you.
with brief permission, add just something we're talking, I know Bob's not here police-wise.
Yeah.
I know we've had discussion of full-time officers for about a year now. I'd like to see about what the board would consider adding this to a discussion for the November meeting. So we can get movement on that finally. I'd like to see by the end of the year us move on full-time officers.
Okay, I would too.
I don't know if
I've
anybody.
always been in favor of it, and I know that we've looked into the cost of that, and how we would take it on in comparison with some of the overtime that we already have paid, and in terms of who would need benefits and who would not, and who is eligible and who's not based on the civil service list.
Mm-hmm.
How big's that plate of yours?
We delegate.
Well, yeah, we could try to get. I wonder if we
I
could get
agree, but the sooner
What
the
do you
better.
think?
Yeah.
We've been beating around the bush with this.
Okay.
Not addressing it, and we're gonna do that. I agree. We need to have it come to a head.
We have 2 officers that are eligible.
Right.
Yes.
We have 2
Yes.
part-timers that are eligible.
And they want to work here, so why aren't we
absolutely.
moving on it?
Okay, sounds like we'll be bringing a proposal to you guys at the next meeting. I'm gonna buy you some more plates.
Have we told you lately that we love you?
She needs a bigger office is what
Yeah.
she needs.
Yeah.
All right,
Needs a
thank
bigger
you.
office?
Yes,
Thank
put
you,
everything
Brian.
in there.
Are we gonna swap her with Mark?
Yeah, well, no, that's not even
Mark's
big enough.
All right, thank you guys. We'll get something for the next meeting. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Okay, last thing, I wanna discuss, details and have some discussion further about the Route 22 John Street project. I talked to Neil about this and I asked Neil to come and walk us through the details. There's a whole bunch of these somewhere. Did everybody get one of these? Alright, thank you,
Neil,
Neil.
I have to say, you are
I
quite.
could have been an artist.
You could have. I'm
Missed your
impressed.
calling, Neil.
I am impressed.
I wouldn't say I should have been an engineer.
Yeah. He can
Oh,
about
Andy, do you wanna
why.
take a
Yeah,
look?
someday if
I'll
you
look
ever
on with that.
retire, you can go into street art.
And before Neil starts,
Terrible.
did anybody notice the chairs?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, me and
They
Josh.
look nice.
Do you like them better?
Yeah, me and Josh.
Are they
Good
comfy?
deal, Fred.
Yeah?
Now, were these stolen from the
Really?
wedding in the
Yes.
park?
So these were on. I found these on Facebook advertised. They're used chairs. These are the same ones that they rent at graduation at the school.
Big improvement.
You ready for this? $50 for 40 chairs.
Really?
So we got 80.
Easy way around it.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. So our guys. So thank you, Neil and guys for going up and doing that. And we have 60 in this room, and I think we have more. Another 20 in the pole barn. 20? 20. Something like that.
I'll give you $25 for 20 of them.
No.
So we can start having meetings outside now.
Yeah. All right. So, look, this has been a tough, complicated discussion, and I wanted Neil to go through all the details so we understand. What did Craig just leave?
Yeah.
Get up and head out of here. Okay.
He has not, he's not.
He's
No,
done.
he's done. The basic thing I want to say is that it's been clear from all the discussions I've had with the board and with our employees here that we want this to happen because we see the value of this in the village, and it's also been clear that they will absolutely do this, and they've handled discussions with me extremely professionally, extremely well, and they are more than willing to do this. But there's a lot of details and a lot of uncertainty, and every couple days things are changing and shifting and coming more into play. And the last thing that that we will be likely working on the next couple days is finalizing the estimate because of some new things that we're looking at. But Neil, please take it away.
All right, the biggest thing's the unknown underneath the ground. What Reifenberg left us when they came through did Route 22. You know, my game plan is now that we're getting into losing daylight time, we're gonna have to have extra lighting on the street. So there's an extra cost. You know, weather's gonna be, you don't know if it's gonna snow, it's not gonna snow. Manpower, of course, is always an issue. I've reached out to our community service guy that's on the payroll. He's willing to come in and help do some flagging. I've talked to County Highway. They're willing to hopefully come in, do some help with flagging and stuff. You know, our biggest thing is doing it safe. Everything's got to be done by the book for DOT. You know, trench boxes, hard hats, safety vests, which are, all this stuff is, you know, a kind of a pain in the ass to work with, to put it bluntly. You know, you're in the hole, your shovel's getting caught on the vest, and, you know, it's unlike a normal water break for us. I did details, you know.
We got, I forwarded that email along to everybody.
I got responses back from Blake Buckner, DOT guy, so he's recommending, you know, we do as much as we can daylight time, you know, which if we do, I'm looking at probably the first day of ripping and tearing. You know, I broke it down in hours. I think everybody should have a copy. And the biggest thing's getting through the asphalt. It's anywhere from 18 to 2 foot thick, and that's going to take some time. Once we get that exposed and opened up, you know, then it's digging 6 feet to the new water main. Plus, we have to dig down by the sidewalk and hopefully find the existing sprinkler system. There's an existing big sewer patch in the middle of the road. I don't know if anybody's really noticed, but there's a sewer lateral that comes out of the old bagel place.
Is that this diagonal?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of unknown stuff. There's a possibility of the old water main being right in front of the new water main, which means we got to cut that out, cap it. So it's not like we don't want to get it done this year. I'd love to have had it done by now, but of course, vacation. You know. I gotta have my vacation. Because I'm going away in February too.
Just make sure it snows a lot where you're
you
going.
know, right? We gotta have, what is it? A foot variance between the sewer and water.
It's gotta be 2 feet.
2 foot. So that means we may have to get 45s or 22s to go up over the sewer main.
Down.
Yep. You know, all that stuff is unknown. And it's gonna be.
Neil, you also said it's a possibility, not underneath the sidewalk, but underneath the curb inside, that we gotta deal with electrical.
You know,
For the street
Deal with
lights.
what, I'm sorry? Oh, the electric,
well,
yeah.
that all comes with dig safe. You know, I'm gonna have to go mark out the street lighting power line because there are street lights. National Grid won't do it. But there's telephone cables that are buried in the ditch lines and stuff. We gotta pay attention to. So
Neil's the electric service for those buildings come in from the back of those
The
buildings?
back,
Okay, so
yeah.
there's no buried,
Right.
okay.
The only thing
That I
we
know
heard
of.
out front is Verizon and.
Yeah.
Verizon, cable, maybe, or no?
No, okay.
They're in the back too?
Most of everything is in back, but Verizon, I do believe, has,
Cause they got the box in the corner.
Line.
lines.
Nobody
concrete.
uses landlines anymore, don't worry about
Yeah.
I don't, so.
Break it.
Now, you
You
could
know,
possibly
it's-
also, Neil, when you're digging to encounter, for example, leftover gas lines when there were the gas lights and all
Exactly.
that, right? So
Yeah,
you don't know what
you
you
know.
may find, and when you find it, you have to make sure it's,
It's all
you know
gotta
what
be
it
cut
is.
and capped.
Mark, did you wanna
and-
hop in?
I was just curious if the building owner is working with a sprinkler company so that when you do get down and find that existing sprinkler line that dates back to who knows when, that, you know, they, a professional sprinkler company as a consultant.
The plans that we came up with included a valve at the end of the line that we've done,
Where
so almost a second valve.
There's actually gonna be 2 valves in the street for that line.
We want
And
to
then-
coordinate with the sprinkler company to be here to make that final connection.
At the
Well-
same time.
Not dig again.
No,
Ideally,
you're
yes,
just plugging- you're
but,
plugging it
Because
in
all
and
we are
yeah.
doing is connecting to the existing, shutting the valve off.
and that's
And
it.
pressure
We're gonna
testing.
pressure test the new stuff we put in, and from that valve back to,
The language in
seller
the agreement
is
is
gonna be-
very specific that is what we're doing, and that part is the owner's responsibility. And there's also language about the completion of the project, what becomes the owner's responsibility once the job is done.
And so, I mean, you wanna be clear to him that, I mean, that would be the time for at least that section
Yep.
to, you know, be evaluated while the hole is open.
Rather than have to go back and dig it
That
up
would make
again, right.
sense.
Well, we wanna be very clear with them too, that, and it can be written down as many times as you want, but a
Oh, yeah.
face-to-face conversation, saying that, you know, you understand we're going this far and stopping, and you've got a task to do before this is done in this section here.
We may be done, but his
And
part is not.
I don't
Right.
think that's an email, I think that's an
Multiple.
eye-to-eye conversation.
I've had a couple different conversations with him since, and he's gonna, one of the things we have to do initially is get his comments on the agreement and get that signed, because without that, obviously, we can't go forward with anything. But yes, this is a further conversation I need to have with him in the next couple days.
Now, when you did the sewer line, it wasn't even half as far. What problems, if any, did you encounter when you were digging for that? Just going out to the middle of the lane,
Just-
right?
yeah, just, well, his sewer line or?
Yeah, when you did the sewer line, because I mean, it's obviously this is.
Well,
way-
we didn't dig it.
Who
That
dug-
was,
oh.
Roto-Rooter. Was it Roto-Rooter?
It was Roto-Rooter.
They did a bunch of work in there.
Yeah, they did all the digging.
So we don't know what they may have found or not and how far, okay. I
Well,
didn't realize it was them that did the,
It was a pretty clean hole.
yeah.
I didn't find that much.
So at least going out part way, I mean, I'm talking about wiring or anything that could have been, so
You know, so.
you really don't, yeah, it's even more of an
It's-
unknown.
You know, it all depends on, we've got a temporary mark on where we think the sprinkler ends, but if it ends back underneath the sidewalk, you know,
You're gonna have to dig that
knock
out.
on wood, when we came in the sidewalk out, his windows don't shatter. You know, all this stuff is gonna have to be in the agreement that he's responsible for, not us.
We talked about that, didn't we?
Yep,
About
we
taking the windows
yep,
out,
that
you mentioned, yeah.
we all got to take a look at that and review it, and then
Getting
we-
into the colder months and stuff, I think glass is gonna be a little more
Brittle.
you know.
Wouldn't you wanna tape those windows up ahead of time?
That's what we were
Well,
talking about.
that's gonna be his responsibility,
Yeah,
not ours.
that's what I'm saying.
You know,
It's another good recommendation to pass on.
you know, as I said, this time of year is really not a good time to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I would prefer to do it in the spring. You know, I don't like having nightmares, which I think this is gonna be, cause I just know the guy, he tries to talk to me on the street and I just say hi, and I just keep running. You know,
Well, once this is done, it'll be very different.
But Neil, you're well known for being a man of few words, so this is the most I've ever heard you speak in one setting tonight.
You blocked his camera last time.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no camera.
That was
Yeah.
incidental.
That's a compliment, Neil.
Well,
He's like,
if he puts a camera up, there's gonna be a dump truck in front of it anyway, so. You know, and the other thing is that DOT is demanding we have blacktop back in the hole, not coal patch for the winter months. And the blacktop plant ends and closes, I think, the last,
Thanksgiving.
that week or something, the week before Thanksgiving or the week of.
So that
It all
week you're
depends on when it
digging
snows
is-
in Vermont.
So it almost looks like the
So-
last possible shot would be
The
November 13th to 16th, which is the day after Veterans Day, Tuesday to Friday.
You wanna work to Friday?
No, gosh, no, I don't want this to, you know.
We're gone, we're on vacation.
But in turn, when does your vacation start?
16.
That's too bad, Jim.
So,
Yeah.
if,
You know, maybe one of the things you'll find out there's Natty Bumpus Gold, where you know what's his name down here.
I'll
buried.
just get up and leave.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Mine now.
Find gold.
You know, so I'm actually looking at probably the first 2 days are gonna be kinda exploring and doing what we can.
Finding the gold.
You
We'll be
know,
fine. We'll get it.
cause, you know, I don't know if the old sprinkler head is the same height as the new water main. You know,
Yeah, there's gonna be
I,
less
pretty
prizes.
much that whole ditch is gonna be opened across the road and the water main exposed. So, you know,
And didn't the DOT say no plates? Now, does
No
that mean
plates.
it has to be filled in every night?
every
Yeah.
night.
Okay.
Wait, we can't.
And actually, I
So
thought
they're
he
talking about filling it in, reopening the road for the night,
yeah,
and then digging it all out again.
yeah.
To do
Why
more
are
work.
they saying no plates?
Trucks, size of the trucks that drive by.
They don't want the heavy trailers driving over.
Well, they shouldn't be driving through anyway.
Well, the other option would be to keep the detour open then, right?
Yeah.
That's the
And then
only
you got
way.
need flaggers
And
all the
then you
time.
gotta have,
Right, I mean, that's the
nighttime
only other
flaggers.
thing to
Yeah,
do,
so it has to be. I mean,
you know.
in the ideal world, the first day, which would be the long day, we could actually get everything hooked up. But there's a whole bunch of ifs that have to work out for that
So
to
you
happen.
just take the dump truck at the end of the night, and we just close off the whole damn village, okay? Forget the detour, forget the flaggers,
Sounds
village
good.
of Hoosick Falls is closed.
I like your world, Brian.
And the
Well,
other thing that we don't know, and we gotta make sure it's okay, is Davis Valve is gonna be available during those times.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Davis Valve, the one that does the tap and sleeve, you know, we gotta make sure somebody can come do it,
Okay,
you know.
I'm making notes here.
I'm gonna have to try to get my hands on electronic signs, because that's one of the things DOT wants at each end of town,
Don't they have that, some they can let you borrow?
if they're not tied up on a job.
Well, I'd
We'll
like
steal
to
some.
volunteer to flag if you need somebody.
You wanna be the pizza runner
I could do that too.
and a food
You get
runner?
it from your shells.
But
Who knows? Maybe that'll show up in the agreement.
So there's-
pizza for the workers.
we're pretty much going into this blind. You know, I'm pretty
Thanks.
sure we're not gonna have to touch a DOT storm drain system, but the rest of it, you know, I'm gonna have guys running for the Clifton Park for parts. You know, we can get some parts here, but I'm hoping everything's pretty standard.
Alright.
So it's pretty much up to you guys, if you guys wanna push to get this done, or wait till spring. And I know supposedly he's got things going on upstairs or whatever that, but, you know.
Well, you and your crew are extraordinarily capable, and you do excellent work.
You know, plus we're trying to get leaf pickup, and you
Yeah.
guys wanna volunteer to go do the leaf pickup, well,
I say leave it there and just plow it up with the snow. Is that?
we've done that plenty.
I'm okay with that, and leave the trees in there too after Christmas. It's all one. But I certainly say you guys are incredibly capable. I have the most confidence in you, and if we can get this done, it's one of those things that we get stuff done here. You guys do a ton, but as a board, as economic development, as a business, to be able to say, yeah, we got this done, we're done. I would love to see that if we can in the fall. I know you guys love me for that, but
You know, and worst case scenario is if they end up closing up Blacktop plant up there, you know, I may have to hire, get a couple county trucks or somebody that don't have sanders on to haul
just
me
get them up here.
Blacktop from East Bumpel.
Well, we're renaming the alley McLaughlin Alley.
I don't even wanna know.
Maybe he'll help out a little more.
Oh, I see, okay, I see.
Right?
You know, so.
We need a road to get some
Let's not
help.
get carried away.
You know,
Alright.
so if you guys definitely wanna do
I'm
it,
not
I'll get on the
mostly
horn
serious.
tomorrow and start making phone calls for signage to see when I can have Davis Vale up here to do the tap and sleeve and, you know, start thinking of all the extra possible parts we might need.
And I'll start working with you
You know.
and you on the final estimate to make sure everything is copacetic, and probably you as well, cause you're gonna have some part stuff in there as well.
Do we have the permitting that we were, that
We get a yearly permit.
I mean,
we don't need something special for this.
I hate to back you guys into a corner, cause I know it is
You
a
know,
bad
and
time
plus-
of year, but.
And plus, right now, I've only got one sander on the truck. And the truck for the sewer plant's not coming anytime soon,
Yeah.
so.
So I think you just offered your truck for sanding.
Hey, yeah, we can put a plow on it too.
I got 4-wheel.
You know, so
Hook me up with
there, other than this project, you know, I got guys out doing leaf pickup.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do sanders, plows, whatever, plus whatever. The girls in the office or needs and.
We'll try to keep it down.
You ever made Saturday
We're
and
right off
Sunday
straight.
mandatory?
The guys would love it.
Yeah, I bet they would.
You
Alright,
know.
so
we
board,
gotta-
what are you thinking?
Get her done.
Thinking go forward? Yeah.
Saying,
Okay,
it's gonna be cold out.
okay,
I'm kicking it.
I want that agreement signed immediately.
okay,
Okay.
alright.
The village should not be out.
I think we should get them, try to have it signed this week.
I'll give him a
For
call
sure.
tonight.
Yep.
Alright, okay, then I think, we don't need a motion, I think we're all in agreement, we're moving forward with this.
Yep.
Thank you guys, we owe you
Bring the donuts, the coffee,
copious
the
amounts of
pizza.
donuts.
We
I'll make you
will,
brownies.
we will be
Without
supportive
nuts.
all around.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah,
Thanks, Neil.
make
Thank
sure
you,
Yes,
let me
Neil,
know on the
Jim.
12th. That's gotta get
yes,
changed.
that's,
Real-
don't worry about, that's gonna be postponed.
Cause they already, state called me after I talked to you.
Alright, trying to firm up the date?
Oh, they're all ready to be here.
Oh, that's cute, okay. Alright, do you wanna
thanks,
report
guys.
on the World
Thanks,
Series?
Thank you.
Ha, the Red Sox won.
Alright, looking for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Craig,
Everybody jump on.
Vanessa, Craig, I don't know, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you very much, meeting ends at
We're free to
7:40.
go?
You are free
Who was
to
two?
go.